Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rat Nest Podcast. My name is Matt Paramo, and I'm your host. And today I'm joined by my longtime friend, Jims Cox.
Jims
Cox.
Jimothy
Cox.
How y'all doing?
Jam Cox. It's my boy. We have been friends since high school. Pushing 15, 20 years now?
19, bro. We met in 2001.
There you go. Yep. So, 2 decades bullshitting with this guy. So, should be a fun little conversation. He recently has jumped into some things involving the art world that I am very enthusiastic about and looking forward to picking his brain on as a new artist and someone that's been dealing with it for a few years now. And
I am very enthusiastic about knowing somebody who is running an art studio.
Hey!
That kind of works hand in hand.
So let's get into it. I mean, Jim.
What's up?
Let's talk about how you've been, man. I would ask you, but I really don't care because we just set up this whole little podcast studio for the last 2 hours, and I know how you are. You're grumpy, and I'm grumpy.
No, I'm not grumpy. You said I was grumpy.
No, it's
particular. I'm particular.
It's crazy how much production goes in to make something look this mediocre, right? Like it's okay. It's all right.
As we both look right at our third cameras that we're so proud of.
Yeah, we're pumping it. Hey, what's up, baby girls? And that third camera. Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1.
Camera 2.
There you go. You guys get it.
Yeah.
But thankfully, you had a lot of this audio equipment. So let's give a little background on how we know each other besides just being high school buddies.
Well, it's all started when you dated my ex-girlfriend in high school. How we first met.
This is correct. I was a sophomore and she was a junior.
And I was a senior.
So, me and Jimmy were low-key Eskimo bros from a young age. At least,
As Eskimo bros, we were as good little Christian boys.
Exactly. We kissed the same girl. That's about it. And then after high school, we kind of saw each other at parties and stuff, bump into each other.
Shows in similar bands, or at least at the same shows.
Yeah, that's true. We were in bands right after high school that definitely played together, and then we ended up being in a band together for many years called Do It Live.
Do It Live. Those were great times.
Very, very fun times. Very fun.
I think we probably bonded the most during that time because we were constantly partying at your in-laws' house, and we had the unit right down the street, which gave us basically 40 hours a week to hang out and party and drink and play music together.
For anyone listening, let's tell them what the unit was.
Oh God, I wish I could bring up pictures right now to show you what the unit looked like.
I'll give you a quick rundown, I guess. It was a storage unit at a storage unit facility that would normally be a 10 by 10.
No. It was like a 15 by 20. It was a big one.
Oh, no, I know. But I'm saying normally these storage units would be like a 10 by 10 concrete box, and that's it.
Right.
So this is like 15 by probably 25, 30. It was big enough to fit an RV in, but the previous tenant had converted it into a recording studio.
Yep.
So
Two-story.
The walls were all silenced up as much as they could be. There was a second level that the recording booth, all the board and engineering equipment was in.
Right.
That looked down on
the
practice space.
Right.
And we kind of lived in there for a good amount of time.
Alan actually did for a while.
Our singer Alan definitely did live in the unit for many nights.
But I can't tell you how many times I was there till 5 a.m. partying and wasn't living there, but...
we had we could get some people in there. We could get, 20 heads in there.
Yeah, it was good times there.
It was really fun.
We would always show up to band practice, walk to the liquor store next door, grab 2 12-packs of orange wheat, and then walk back over and proceed to just drink and play music until all hours of the night.
Yeah, it was great. And the lady that ran it was kind of our age, and she probably partied harder than we did.
She absolutely did.
And the few times she hung out, it was kind of like a weird situation because I was just kind of waiting for her to pull out some hard drugs or something. She was out there, right?
For sure. But then at the same time, I felt uncomfortable smoking weed around her because she's the boss of this place.
Right. She's technically the one in charge of our fate there.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, it was a fun dynamic with that one. She was a little wild.
And then when she got kicked out, the new owner threatened to sue because all this illegal construction in this thing and all this. Apparently, the power was run off of like extension cords.
Oh yeah.
And like pulled from all the other units.
It might as well have been called Tweaker Studio. Whoever built that thing was, he or she, whoever was on a good one.
Hey, but that thing changed our lives.
Yeah, and we rented it for the same price as a normal storage unit because they couldn't rent it to anyone else that wanted to just store things like a normal person. Right?
That's right.
So yeah, it was a killer deal, and so yeah, I mean we've been all over together, man.
Well, from there, the unit Do It Live actually went on tour, and you were Team Party Car, you and Alan.
That's true.
Me and Daniel were in, I guess, normal car.
We just called you the losers. I don't know. Me and Alan drove up to the top of California from the bottom of California in a 2001 Honda Civic.
And me and Daniel were in like a 2003 Matrix.
With full equipment. So
we had drum sets.
Drum set, 8x10 bass cab.
Full stack.
2 full stacks. All the guitars.
And plus like merch and CDs. We stopped and picked up our CDs and got 12 boxes of CDs.
That was insane. We thought 1,000 CDs was
fit in the glove box.
Yeah, 1,000 CDs. We can get rid of these on tour.
Yeah,
and how many CDs?
We need them.
How many CDs do you think we still have between the 4 of us?
We bought 1,000. We probably still have 940.
The boxes just hold up like my entertainment center. They're just around the house.
Using them as coasters.
Yeah, dude. Anyone wants a Do It Live CD? Email me at mattparamo@gmail.com and I'll just send you one. It's great.
Yes, it's a great album.
Quality music.
Can we explain why we were in 2 separate vehicles when we did this tour? We originally had a van. We actually all pitched in and bought a van. A conversion van with the bed in the back, and we rented a trailer to go on tour. We loaded all of the fucking equipment into the trailer. Got from San Bernardino to about Temecula, or just above San Diego County, and the transmission caught on fire.
Yeah, you guys were in San Diego County. You were on the 163. I remember because you were only about 10 minutes from my house at the time.
Right.
And so we came up and just kind of looked at you guys with the van on the side of the freeway, and then Rob V. Someone had AAA or something, right?
Rob V. No, he had a van and literally just came and pulled it off of the freeway for us and got us out of danger. Cars were passing us, like pointing. We were smoking from the transmission and shit caught on fire.
Yeah.
Luckily it didn't blow up or anything, but then we had the task of towing it off the side of the freeway all the way to your house downtown in Gaslamp, and then having to try and fix it, realizing we couldn't fix it, then figuring out how to get the trailer back to San Bernardino because we didn't want to get charged $1,000 rental for not using it. So we had to drive it with Steve's brother's truck that he was borrowing, and they didn't even know that we drove it all the way back to San Bernardino. Sorry, Steve. Dropped the trailer off in San Bernardino, drove all the way back that night, and loaded all the equipment in the 2 cars, and still made every show on the tour.
Steve's not going to listen to this. It's okay.
All right, good.
No, that's funny, man. That's true. And we kind of just putted around like we were mechanics. Like, we just looked at the van for 2 full days like we knew how we were going to fix the transmission.
Just staring at the transmission.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like a transmission to me.
I don't know what's wrong with it.
Can't tell. Hit it with the fucking wrench. Does this work?
Literally. That's what we did for 3 days and played acoustic guitars in that parking lot by my house.
We did.
And
that was good. But that kicked off the tour. After that, it was... If that wouldn't have happened, that tour would not have been the same.
No, man. We would have killed each other being in the same van the whole way.
Absolutely.
It would have been a little bit easier as far as loading and unloading goes, but when it was all said and done, I'm glad we were kind of like in separate cars and took our time getting home separate ways. Because after anyone that spent long periods of time on a road trip with people, even if they're your best friends and you don't start to hate each other, everything just starts to bother you. The uncomfortableness of being on the road, it's like camping. It's like after day 3,
it's just irritability.
Everything's like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you're just such in a downer mood. And even with the highs that come along with playing live music in front of people and traveling, city to city, it's equal amount of lows of just driving and driving and driving and trying to stay positive about the thing when you're exhausted and just worn
being
thin.
around the same 3 people every day. You're one of 4 people that are literally traveling around together and trying to meet new friends, trying to meet new people, crashing on people's couches, but you have to stay close with those people. That's your clique, that's your salvation if anything happens, but shit, it's so hard to remain like irritated or unirritable in those situations.
Absolutely. And it's like, we don't have, the 4 of us that went on tour all have our own like kind of strong personalities in certain ways.
Yeah.
Or I'm loud. I like to drink and be obnoxious, and 4 days of that in a row, it starts to get to people, even like your closest friends. You know what I mean?
Well, me, I'm very like, I have to have my space and I have to have things set up right. You know what I mean? And so on tour, that shit goes out the window.
Oh, that's
and that
the first
just
thing.
Throws me out of my comfort zone right off the bat. So I spent the first week of tour getting comfortable being uncomfortable, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's a trip to not to transition in, but the whole point of this is we're talking about art. Like, obviously music is art too, but Do It Live gave us the opportunity at Maxwell Street Pizza with Uncle Alex to start throwing shows and actually doing art shows along with our live music, which really helped transition from when the band fell apart and we were no longer playing music together. We were still doing these art shows, and I think it cultivated a huge relationship with the entire Inland Empire art scene just from those shows at Maxwell's are starting out,
Well, the thing about the Inland Empire art scene that I've noticed, and I haven't been a close part of it for many years because I lived in San Diego for so long, but when I was living there and doing those shows and helping set up and kind of seeing the people that came out and who was involved, everyone's hungry because there's not a lot of opportunity for that. It's a big city without the amenities of a big city art scene. So those little pizza place shows where everyone could get together and cross-promote and maybe 200, 300 kids come out that night makes everyone feel like a winner.
Heck
Makes
yeah.
a rising tide lifts all ships, whatever you want to say. And so that was a really awesome thing to be a part of and kind of see that wave of resurgent in like DIY shows.
Yeah.
And
I know for a fact there was artists there that had never sold a piece. They had only given them away to people, and they sold art for the first time at some of those art shows.
Yeah, and that's as an artist, it's the most important feeling because then you think, I can do this. Like someone does like my thing.
Exactly, it's very validating.
It is very validating, and even to this day, to be asked to be in a group show, to sell a piece off the wall at a show, it still gives you that same kind of childlike artist feeling of, I can't believe they liked what I made.
For sure.
It's like your mom hanging a drawing on the fridge.
Yeah, it's pride.
It is. And
I've still never sold an art piece before, so I can't wait for that feeling.
Well, you also, let's go into that a little bit. So recently, you've just started doing digital illustration, more or less. It's abstract. Some of the stuff's a little bit more dialed in.
I'm finding my way right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I just know the medium I'm using is like digital iPad. I'm using Procreate and Illustrator Draw, and that opened up worlds to me when it came to art, to be able to do art.
As someone that's seen and been a part of like art and these art shows, and you've seen people live paint, you've known me forever, you've watched me paint. I've done how many paintings for you personally?
I got a lot of your art in my house. I love it.
So you kind of seen how different people work and stuff. How did that translate from watching someone do art into creating your own art for the first time?
It's what gave me the confidence to start. So sitting back and watching you do art for years and watching my buddy Gabe do art for years and just being around all these art shows and learning how to create music, and I felt like everything that I had done in my life as far as creativity wise was all culminating up to this, or to get me to this point right now. And I'm not saying this is the end game or whatever, but it all boiled up to give me the confidence to just try. You know what I mean? Watching my buddies do art and they're like, I hate this piece, and they throw it to the side, and I run over and snag it really quick and keep it and put it to the side. That's that receipt that you drew for me. It ended up being a sticker that we made into it, and it was a piece of trash art that you've done, you know? Seeing my buddies have this like amazing ability and just keep trying to make it better, keep trying to do better, keep trying to, you know, this isn't good enough type of feeling. It was like, oh shit, so it is a process. I can start at the bottom and get better and get better and get to the feeling where everything I do isn't amazing. I can actually kind of judge it from a more judgmental eye, or like from the outsider's perspective, rather than like you said, mommy's going to put this up on the fridge for me, I'm so proud of it. You know, start doing things that I know will better me as an artist, and also this is more of what people want and what people like, you know, even if it's just aesthetic.
Totally, and that's the biggest hump or hurdle I think that people starting out, even seasoned artists have been doing it a while, that's the thing you encounter the most, is just getting something started, getting the drive to sit down and create that day. Some of the biggest advice I've gotten from the people that have influenced me the most has been the simplest, and it's just like, create something every day. Even if you have to kind of force it, it's going to make you a better artist. Muscle memory, muscle memory, muscle memory. Just draw, draw, draw. If you want to do this, that's how you're going to accomplish something, is just by literally sitting there and doing it. As someone that did music before, do you think that kind of helped the idea of understanding that there's a process to things and that it's not going to come all right away? It's like learning an instrument where you have to work and work and work to learn the scales, to put them together, to write a song, to find that progression.
Absolutely. I mean, I never took any sort of music theory, so when I came to creating music, it was learn as you go. You know, this sounds good together, so I'm just going to play this together, and it turns out, oh, that's technically called this. You know, I don't have any of the vocabulary, but I can still create music. I basically just transitioned that mindset over into art. Like, I have none of the theory, I have nothing to base or any of the vocabulary to help this with, but I know what looks good together in my eye. And if I was able to create music that people liked and it was just tuned to my ear, I can just try and do the same thing with art, just use my eye instead of my ear. And it's the same mentality in my head. It made perfect sense. So as soon as I got an iPad with the Apple Pencil, it changed my life. I think you remember I did like 100 illustrations in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, you were on a burner there, because when you got it, you were like, oh, I'm gonna start messing with this, and I was like, all right, good luck, man, because I had recently just got one too.
Right.
And I was trying to play with it, and for me, it was very frustrating because it's a tool that makes things, it takes out almost like a whole step in the production side of things, so it makes things super easy in that way. But it just took me a while to hone in the actual movements of the pencil on a digital platform, like on a screen, and just not have that physical touch of a pencil and paper or whatever, pen and paper. And then also, I don't know if you know this about me, but I hold my pencil incorrectly.
Yeah, no.
So the way I hold my pencil and the dynamic ability of the surface to absorb that pressure, it throws it off for me.
Yeah, because you're a very side pencil holder.
It's a hard line.
And it makes it go into shading mode or whatever. So yeah, it completely changes what the pencil does.
And depending on what setting I have the pencils and the pens and stuff worked out to, I've gotten it honed in a little better, but it's still frustrating to me. So it's interesting to see you strictly doing a digital platform or digital art, because that's all you've kind of taught yourself to this point.
Well, you know, and I think that actually played to my benefit, because I'm not used to or have the muscle memory of what it feels like to be drawing and sketching with an HB pencil or, you know, a nice soft shading pencil. Like, I only know what it feels like to use the Apple Pencil, so that's like my first language when it comes to art right now. You know, I learned that language first before I learned regular pencils or paintbrush or on canvas. So I didn't have to like transition into a pencil like you're talking about. It was the first time I had really given myself the opportunity to try art like that, and it just worked. You know what I mean?
So over the years, did you ever, I know you had to have experimented with just like that stoner moment, or had a couple beers and you're like, I'm going to go buy acrylic paint, I'm going to buy this canvas, I'm gonna paint this painting.
Well, that mostly happened with you. That would be when we would like, you would come over and you've got a bunch of paints, or like you just bought a box of canvases, and we just would go in the garage or go wherever and just start throwing paint on things. That was really my first introduction. But I think I have two pieces that I did with you back in Gabe's garage back in the day. That actually I've kept, and I look at them and I'm so proud of them, but they sit in my garage in a box because it's not something that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hang this on the wall or I'm gonna sell this or whatever. It's nostalgia to me, you know what I mean? That's like my souvenir from that time, you know what I mean? And then of course, as every like 20 something from a poverty neighborhood like San Bernardino, I got into graffiti, you know what I mean? Going around with spray cans and throwing my name up everywhere and feeling that style out. You know, I never really liked writing on public places where people could see it because I didn't think it was good enough. But I would go down under the bridges, you know, up on the walkways where nobody was. I would write my name and let it burn for a while, or go out to the bunkers where the old Lockheed Martin testing facility out there in the wash. I still have stuff burning for like 10 years out there just because I wanted to get to a place where no one could really see it, or I wanted to get to a hard enough place to where I could do something and no one could go over it. You know, even if it's ugly as fuck, they're going to be like, dang, that fool got there though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely those high risk spots, those up top spots.
That helped a lot with my layers when it came to, and especially comes to using the iPad. You have to use a lot of layers in Illustrator. And so doing graffiti, I learned how to throw different layers down and then build on top of other layers. So then in graffiti, it's like you do one, and then you have to do the other one. You can't go back to the other layer. But digitally, I want to change this layer. I go back to it, I can adjust it, and it's so much more forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, if you have enough paint, you can go back over spots and connect your bottoms to your tops, and you know, kind of find the flow between the two layers. But I see what you're saying is like we never were at the level where we were doing big murals or like big pieces where we would have 2 boxes of paint or something. We were like
Right.
2 can kids.
Exactly.
So we, you know, whatever we could fit in our a backpack, maybe 3 or 4 cans at the most between a couple of us. Something you could ditch easy.
Plus, we had to have room for the beers.
Yeah, duh. I think we were more distracted with just getting drunk in the wash than actually doing good art at that time.
For sure.
And you know what? Maybe still now. Maybe still this is what we're doing. But
I mean, what did we do last time we went out there? We walked in, got drunk and high, and then wrote our name a couple times.
Yep. And you know, as any good artist, that's what you do. You take a walk. You go on a movement with a friend and drink a couple tallies and get loose. So, all right, coming up, I have an interview scheduled with my friend Amber Giusti. I'd love for you to stick around and hang out and do this with me.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. I've seen some of her art. I'm happy to meet her and see what she's all about. Because if her personality is anything like her art, it's going to be an interesting conversation. Very beautiful.
Yeah, she's rad. She's super rad. So let me get her dialed in on this Zoom phone call, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back with Amber.
Sounds good.
Hey! All right. You want to do a little click? And we're back to the Rat Nest Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here. Today, I'm happy to introduce my good friend and fellow artist, Amber Giusti.
What's up?
Via Zoom. So, Amber, let's get right into it. What have you been doing? What's happening?
I've been doing a lot of shit. I'm like barely working right now because of all of the situation in the world. So I just made some shirts. You just helped me make some stickers. I've been like, for the first time in my life, I've been getting into the digital art world, and that's been really cool, really interesting. A lot of doors feel like they're open now because of that.
That's something, actually, me and Jim were just having a conversation about it because he's been a musician. Like, he's always had a creative side, but never really messed with illustration or painting or anything like that. But he recently got an iPad and Apple Pencil and just kind of has been taking off. I think he said he did 100 illustrations in like 2 weeks or something.
Wow.
Where
That's
he's
amazing.
just going for it. And I was saying it's kind of weird as someone who's used to painting with more traditional physical mediums to transition into the Apple Pencil world, especially if you have like a gorilla grip like I do, and you have to kind of hone in how you work with it. Did you have like
Yeah.
an issue transitioning?
Well, I was really resistant to doing any kind of digital art. I've been painting my whole life, and it's been a big part of my life. And I've like, I don't know, I just had like a block there. I didn't really want to. It felt like too different from. I really have. Um, I've really developed a process for myself, a process that I love so much of like making a physical painting. I have it all like I'm so intimately familiar with it that it's like really soothing and really fun for me. And digital art just felt like, I don't know, crazy. But a friend of mine, an angel, lent me her iPad. And I was like, I don't really even care. She was like, just try it, just try it. And I took it home. And like, as soon as I started working with it, I immediately was just like, oh, this is dope. Like, it's a little weird, like the learning curve is a little weird, but there's so much you can do. Like in the past, I mean, you guys know, you make a mistake on a physical painting and it's like, fuck, okay, like how can I work around this, or do I have to trash this? And on digital it's just like undo. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Totally, and the
Crazy.
ability to use all those layers as well.
Oh my god, I fucking love I love the layers.
It adds so much. I was right there with you. When I first picked it up, I immediately felt like, oh, this is the medium that I'm looking for. Because personally, I never started as really an artist or painting canvases or anything in my life, like only playing around. And once I picked up the iPad, it was like, okay, here's what it's supposed to feel like. And
Yeah,
then being able
that's
to
right.
kind of learn from square one with this medium, I feel like it really helped me understand the layers and understand what the depth can look like, because I didn't have to create it on the first try. I was able to do it, and then, oh, I want to throw this to the background. Ooh, that makes it look way deeper. And then all of a sudden I'm creating stuff that I didn't even know I could create.
Man, that's so cool. That's so exciting. I still have like so much to learn. I'm barely like at the tip of the iceberg, but I feel like I just got my own iPad, and I feel like now that I have it, I can just see all of these possibilities that were never possible before. It's yeah, pretty dope.
Well, we were kind of talking about too, me and you, a week or two ago, about the iPad just kind of taking out that middle step that normally, when you create something by painting it or pencil, whatever it is, if it's a hard copy of something, transitioning it into that digital format to go to production, whether it's a T-shirt or a print or whatever.
Yeah. That
Um,
was the biggest barrier for me forever, where people have been trying to buy prints from me and they wanted, whatever XYZ, and I was always like, I can't really do that. I don't really know how. It's like, you can buy the original, but I don't really have like. And now it's just like, oh yeah, boom, print, easy.
yeah, that makes it so nice for sure.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, I feel like it's a different style. If I work from digital or if I work from physical, there's certain things, like you said, you figure out your methods and your process that you really like doing when you create, and there's those things I can't replicate by any means on the opposite format, right? It's like I
Yeah.
just get that hand touch. But if I'm going for something really clean or a design job or branding something, the cleanliness of digital, it is so user friendly now that it's almost like you just put pen to pad and there's a logo. It's
Yeah.
so how clean everything automatically comes.
Yeah, I definitely am exploring that side of things right now. Like I feel like I had just refined my artistic style in a way that kind of works for logos and things like that. And then so it felt very like synchronistic that like, oh, now it's like a perfect time to dive into digital because I'm already looking at stuff and going, that would kind of work on a shirt. Whereas in the past it was just like too crazy, like wouldn't work. But I definitely agree with you. Like I don't the way that I like paint doesn't really translate yet, and I still have to figure out. Like, I still have so much to learn there. Like, I don't really know. I don't think I could do the exact same thing necessarily.
Right. But you almost don't want to do the exact same thing. It's like,
Right.
Well, looking through your Instagram and looking at the stuff that you're doing, I mean, you don't need to recreate it digitally. It's so gorgeous the way that
Oh,
it's
thanks.
done. It doesn't need to be changed or illustrated in any way. Like, sure, if you wanted to do a print, that's one thing, but this stuff is amazing on here.
Thank you so much.
in,
I've,
in, your work, in your work too, you have a lot of like the gradients because of the watercolors, or maybe you water down your acrylics. And I don't know, the fluidity of it is there in the digital format. They have those filters and those pins that you can make those adjustments on. But there's something about that one random dirty drop that's not supposed to be where it's at.
yeah,
That
yeah,
little piece that only you know that's your favorite piece, where it's not quite perfect, but it comes together like so perfectly and so beautiful that you can't recreate that.
yeah. It really feels like separate worlds in a way. Like digital at this moment really exists to help me get art to other people, and then the physical is really like it's like a mystical like soul thing where it's just my me in my little witch cave like making shit.
Speaking of little witch caves, I was going to ask you, because you were, when I left San Diego, you were kind of the in line to take over my little garage spot that I was painting in. And I was going to ask you, because do you feel that you need to get away from your like everyday surroundings to create, or did you just want an extra space to kind of see how it worked?
um that's a really good question, and I think I'm still kind of figuring out the answer. The main reason that I was interested in getting a garage before is I was living in a tiny studio, and my I'm not like a very organized person or like a very tidy person. So I'm always working on like multiple projects at once, and they were just all over my floor and shit in my studio. And I was like, I live here. I do everything in this room, and then the floor is like covered in art. It was just like a mess. I was like, I would love to have a little bit more space, and that can just be covered in projects. Um, I moved into this new spot that has a garage, and it's kind of counterintuitive. I've never had this much space that's all mine before. So my garage is my art studio, but it's I'm still kind of like figuring out like how to make that just an art space, you know? Because I've just never had the option before. But I do think I like it. I think I like having a room that's just for that.
Where you can kind of like just get away, and the things that are set up to work on are there. You don't have to dig anything out, or
Yeah.
like you said, it's like having multiple projects has always been my biggest hang up. I think I take on a lot more than I really can or need to, and
Yeah.
I say yes too much and just try to please people, and I take on these projects, and then I have 6 or 7 things I'm trying to juggle, and then working on anything seems overwhelming if you're in the same space that you live and sleep and try to create, and you're filing through all these projects. So I
Yeah.
100% get that. My hang up was with the garage was I was just a little too far. I wasn't that far, but I was just a little too far where I couldn't walk to it, and I didn't drive for the last 2 or 3 years I was in San Diego, just because I lived and worked in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I could ride my bike down there, and then I would have to ride home like in the middle of the night. And it's such a cop out, but I felt like the effort of getting to and from there counterbalanced the efficiency of having my own workspace.
Yeah. I can totally see that. I'm very much the type of person where like I'll feel it and I'll go, I gotta go right now. I have to like do that, like seize this inspiration or whatever. And if it was like a matter of like, well, it's gonna be like half an hour before I can even get to the place, and a lot of the time it's like it's not even worth it.
You like miss the moment, or at least the spark.
Yeah.
Even if you act immediately on that spark in that time, the time that it takes to get there burns it out.
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
that for sure.
And that was the same. We were talking about playing music earlier because we were in a band together years ago, and it's the idea of like, let's jam right now because we're feeling it, and you have to get in there and just start playing, or else you just don't feel it anymore. You just don't want to be in there.
Instead of like, let's jam at 5 o'clock and hope we're feeling it. It's like sometimes
Yeah.
I go through periods where I can kind of tap into that thing. If I just sit down, it'll be there sometimes, but that's not always the case, you know.
Have you been painting like with normal mediums lately, or do you find yourself kind of putting that off now since you've been playing with the digital stuff?
I took a little break, but I actually was just organizing my garage a couple days ago, and I got it feeling really nice in there and feeling like it is kind of inspiring to me to be in there. So I actually like finished a painting I hadn't worked on in a year, and I just kind of pulled out all the old projects that I hadn't finished, and there's always like 10, 15 of them.
Yeah.
So I've been picking that up a little bit.
I have to ask, just as an artist that is just trying to get started and trying to get some traction under me, how I'm looking at your stuff, and you have such expression in the faces that you draw. Like there's so much of these portraits that, I mean, it's the same lady, but there's a different expression, you know, it seems like it. And how do you find yourself able to really put that expression or put that feeling when you look at a face into your art and it just not come off as like a flat, you know, zombie looking person?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it is just miles, like hours, you know, like I've been working on it for a long, I guess my whole life. I've been trying. I've always loved drawing people and faces. Faces are really intriguing to me and really beautiful. And while I'm working on a character, it's just like really beautiful experience for me. It's really like I feel like I am them or something. Like when I finish a painting, I feel like I like was that person for a little bit. So if I'm like working on this very serious expression or something, I find myself like making that same face. I'm like mirroring it, and I think it's just like
you can really
embodying it.
Emotion in their faces, and it almost is as if you would have to embody it and put yourself into that page in order for it to come off. Like I'm looking at this one where the person is like staring at a hamburger and they're just like, oh my god, like I can see how excited that guy is to have that hamburger. You know what I mean? And that's really difficult to do. So.
I also always wondered, I don't know if I've ever actually asked you this, do you base anything off of pictures or models of people? Like
always.
Do you use photos as models? Is that
Yeah. Almost always. I've just finally gotten to a place where I can kind of fake it and like make people up, but part of the process for me is I enjoy using a model. I enjoy using a photo. I use a lot of like stock photos of just old people. Those are the best.
Yes. No, but I think that it comes through when you see your work, because it's almost the juxtaposition of a well balanced ratio of like the facial features and the structure of the face with the color and the contrast of maybe having dead eyes or you know, black stuff dripping from their mouth. Whatever it is, it's a beautiful, it's like an eerie, beautiful composition.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I find myself distracted as I'm scrolling over here.
So what else is good? So you've only been working part-time?
Yeah, part-time. We just got word that we might be able to reopen tomorrow.
That was word on the street. I heard that.
It's been a weird year being in this industry, because every few weeks it's like, all right, we're back at it. Okay, never mind. All right, never mind. And I've found that like the times when like it's rough when we're not open because no one's really making money, but I do really well with a lot of downtime, and I love just like being at home and painting or whatever, reading, you know. So it's I don't know, it might be really different starting tomorrow.
Do you think that made this year like a little bit easier, at least on you, that like you are a person that doesn't mind hanging out and like reading a book or killing time painting? Because I know for me personally, when I paint, hours can go by and I won't realize it. But if I'm just bored and not doing anything, I'm like it bothers me. I get into a very like I need to go do something kind of mentality.
Yeah, I absolutely think I was at an advantage this year. I've always been the type of person that, like, I love being alone, and I have, I'm never bored. I have a million things that I'm always thinking about. I read books the same way I make art, where I'm always reading like 10 or 15 books at once. So, like, pick up one of whichever book is laying around and like read that, and then like think about that for a while, and then like go work on some art, and then go for a walk. I just like, and I can make a day go by really fast just doing like nothing really, but doing those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely, I'm a lucky person that I love being in my own head.
It makes it a little easier. Just like
Yeah.
and then also I was gonna ask you recently, because maybe just the hang up was not really knowing exactly how to get your art from one format to a digital format to get it produced or printed, whatever the case may be. But I feel like you had a little bit of a like a surge, like you had a little bit of like a spark to want to make hard goods, not just paintings, or you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
hit me up about the stickers, you were getting prints made, you made those awesome t-shirts. Like was there something that contributed to that I need to just get merch out there?
It was definitely my friend lending me her iPad, which is it's so crazy. Like it was really like a switch flipped. Like as soon as I got comfortable using that thing, I just saw all these possibilities, and I was like, it's right there for me now. Before it wasn't. Before I it felt like this big gulf, and I didn't know how to cross it. And then suddenly it was just like, and like you, Jim. I in a matter of a week I made 4 illustrations, and like I was like banging them out so fast, and I was just like, this is fun and easy, and I can just like sit warm on my little couch and like go for it, and then like send it off to my other homie and have a print made like
Yeah,
in a
the
matter of
blaze of
minutes.
inspiration at the beginning was so hot. It like I felt it too. It's the same thing, and that's it's like you have to capitalize on it when you get it. It's the same as we were talking a moment ago. If I have to drive 30 minutes to get there, not going to be able to capitalize it. But even on like a more larger scale, if you're not able to capitalize on this week that you're going to like, oh, I just want to create, 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 create. If you're like, oh, I'll put it off, I'll put it off. Who knows what you missed out on? You could have
Yeah.
missed out on one of the best creations that you ever did that you'll never be in that space again to do.
Yeah.
And that's
Are
almost
you
the
guys?
motivation that I've been using when I feel the spark, like drive it, drive it, drive it.
Yeah. Are you guys familiar with the idea of the muses?
Oh yeah.
I think about that all the time whenever there's this idea that like if you feel that spark of inspiration, that's a muse like working through you and giving you an idea, and if you don't use that idea, they'll find someone else.
Yeah.
And I have totally felt that in my life, where it's like I waited a little too long, then the inspiration was just gone, and it's like I don't even remember why I wanted to make that or what was so cool about it, and I just lose stuff.
Not to get too like sappy, but
Oh, let's get sappy. I love it.
yeah, but I've multiple times told Nicole that like she's kind of like my muse, because my spark of creativity comes when I'm comfortable, when I'm
Mm.
completely okay, when we're just hanging out, watching TV, or just decompressing after work, whatever it is. If I feel like in a safe place, that's where I feel the most creative to get going to like work on projects. Whereas if there's things I need to get done, if I feel like I'm wasting time during my day, if the dog is acting weird and barking too much or whatever it is, I get thrown off so easy. But those little moments of just perfect comfort are really where I get a lot of my pushes from.
Yeah, that's so sweet, dude.
So sad.
So Nicole helps you reach that level of comfort?
Yeah, like I just like I like having her around and ignoring her. Does that make sense? Like if she's in the other room, like doing her thing, and I'm in like my studio painting or whatever it is, the idea that if anything happens while I'm doing that, that there's someone there to like even handle it, or just like it's just a weird comfort thing for me, I guess, where I know everything's gonna be okay, like when she's like around.
Aww.
All right.
I love it.
All right, so I also want to just plug a couple things here. If you want to throw one in that camera, Jim, you just made these really awesome stickers. I was kind of the middleman since my printer is on the fritz right now and got them done. Shout out vinyldisorder.com if you want to get some stickers done. They're out of Southern California here. What is the idea behind the well with nothing to lose and nothing to prove? Is that just the idea of like you're just gonna put it out there because you got nothing to lose and like nothing to prove? Like, where does it come from?
The inspiration for all of my art comes from either dreams or meditation, like moments that come to me when I'm meditating, or I'll feel inspired by a word and I'll look up the etymology of the word. And it's like pretty much always those three things. And this one was, I've been obsessed with this idea of the well, like this inner well of like, this was like when I was meditating, I think it was when I was like unemployed for 2 months when quarantine just started, and I was like meditating a bunch and just like really working on this like inner calm, this like inner integrity, and like being my own, like developing my relationship with myself. And I just kept thinking of this image of a well inside. It's kind of like, you know, if you have a solid relationship with yourself, and if you know who you are and you have your own code of integrity, then like you really can't lose anything. Like there's nothing, what you already have and what you really are, you can't lose. And you don't have to prove it to anyone as long as you know. So it's very like, it's like a nice message, I think.
Very. No, totally. And yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. My interpretation of it was along those lines, just of the idea of dipping into yourself, right? You're like yourself well, because if you're confident in who you are, you don't, like you said, you don't have anything to prove to anybody. Mm-hmm. What are you going to lose by sharing your idea or your thought or your experience if it's pure?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thanks. Thank you so much for getting those stickers made for me. I'm psyched.
Yeah, no problem. I will have them either mailed out to you tomorrow, or I will let you know when I will be in town to drop them off personally.
Cool. If you want to wait until you're in town, that way I can give you your shirt too. No rush.
Cool. Yeah, I should be down there pretty soon. I have to make a trip down, say what's up. So
shameless plug, those stickers are available at Ratnest. Stickers too. The sticker code? RatnestStickerCode.com.
You messed up the plug, bro. Okay, we'll plug it at the end. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on. You said you were gonna try to be launching your website pretty soon here.
Yeah, pretty soon.
How's that process been going?
What was that?
How's that process been going? Have you been like editing, or have you been like building it, or are you just is it an idea stage?
My homie is helping me build it. It does exist already. Everything on there is $40,000 right now.
Yeah.
So like the shell and everything, like it's functional. The whole thing works, but I just need to like. He did it for me as a birthday present, so I need to go in and like make it my own and kind of, you know, customize and tweak. And I've never built a website before, so it's just going to be a little bit of a process for me to like understand what I'm doing there.
Do you know if he built it through like a third party, kind of like a Squarespace or something like that, or
Squarespace? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Yeah. I
Normally,
know it wasn't Squarespace.
normally those companies give you a lot of options to like make stuff really, really user friendly, which is nice.
Yeah, I did a free trial through them because I had heard so much about them, and it was pretty cool. I have an issue with it's hard for me to work when there aren't clearly defined parameters. I get like overwhelmed with the possibilities. So I was like fucking around on Squarespace, and I was like, there's too many. I was like customizing every little tiny thing, and I was like, I can't. I could do this forever, and it would like never be done, you know.
Diving too deep into like HTML of just what color could this be? What color could this be? Oh, this
It's
is a
like
different
any color you want. That's so crazy.
I had a similar experience when we were building Rat Nest, and I found myself just saying I just want it to be black and white, like as close to just like plain as possible, because it already is kind of overwhelming to the senses when you get on there and there's
All the art,
crazy bright colors and all this stuff. It's like
yeah.
you don't want everything just clashing with each other, and it's hard to find that balance sometimes.
That's really smart, actually. That's a really good thing to keep in mind because my art does look so crazy, and I want my site to be like a showcase in some way, like a gallery.
Absolutely.
It's a really good thing to keep in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, I think simplicity when it comes to having messy art is very crucial.
Yeah.
I always find that on a blank white wall, your crazy art looks so much better than if it's butted up against something else on a different colored wood wall or whatever it is. Just having it be able to speak for itself with nothing behind it helps me.
Yeah. See, I do love like a crazy wooden wall background, but there's a balance in there. There's definitely like an appropriate space for that, and then white wall sometimes is better.
Sure. So we've done 2 or 3 art shows together now, maybe over the last few years.
Yeah.
I know that this year was tough for everybody, but I also saw in San Diego a couple people were still having shows to some degree. Were you a part of anything, or were you just?
I thought about it. I kept seeing stuff like the night before it was gonna happen, and I did create a lot. I have a lot of brand new paintings that I made in the last year, but I feel like every time I saw that a show was about to happen, it was just like a little too last minute, and I wasn't quite there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. Have you done any stuff like that this year?
No. So we moved in March, April. I don't know, the beginning of the year, the first 4 months of the year, and it was just kind of getting my parameters out here in a new city, and I haven't really linked up with anyone, just little stuff via Instagram, talking to people, but I haven't really dove into the scene out here, who's doing what. So I tried to paint. I probably did like 5 or 6 new paintings in the last few months, or at least started like 6 or 8 paintings, so to some degree I was more creative than normal, but then also I had like the opposite kind of feeling sometimes, where I thought I have so much time, like I'm not going back to work anytime soon, that I don't have to like jump on it right now. I didn't have that spark, that's for sure. It was a little bit more forced, but sometimes forcing yourself is good because it helps you get some of the ideas out that you're focusing on, so you can create new ones.
Yeah.
Perfection in volume, bro. The more you have, the more chances you have to be perfect.
I like to bet that every piece I create is going to be a masterpiece, and that is going to be in a museum one day, and I don't have to redo anything ever. But that's just me personally.
Man.
Yeah, I'm kidding, everyone out there. This is like the first episode, so they don't know if I'm joking or not yet. But yeah, all right. So what is your website when it comes out?
I have 2 domains that'll get you there. So it's clownfruits.com and ambergiusti.com.
All just one word, your name, or Clown Fruits. And fruits, everything's spelled normal, right, on Clown Fruits?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
plural. Clown fruits.
Fruits. Don't forget that S, everybody. .com. And then Instagram at clown
Clown
underscore
dot fruits.
clown dot fruits.
Yeah.
Instagram at clown dot fruits. Anything else you have coming up that you want to throw in there, or did you have any questions for us now that we've been berating you for the last half hour?
I'm gonna be making some more shirts soon. That website will be up soon. You are getting your sticker machine soon, yeah?
Soon. It's the one so the one I put off on getting until January is now back ordered until April. So April.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be in full production in April. Until then, I am going through some third-party vendors here in Southern California that I've worked with and getting good results. So if anyone does need anything, email me at neststickerco.com or at gmail.com or Instagram at ratneststickerco. Yeah. Any final thoughts? You want to do a little Jerry Springer like final thought for us, or?
I don't actually even I don't even know how I would do a Jerry Springer final thought.
Did you ever watch Jerry Springer with us?
I've seen Jerry Springer, but I don't feel like I ever watched it through to the end. That kind of show always made me real uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable for an hour. And then the last 2 minutes after everyone's like bloodied up and like has been boxing and ripping weaves off and everything, Jerry just goes into the audience and they film him and he goes, "You know what? Life is sometimes unpredictable and we all need to work around it. But if we all try, the world will be a better place." Like some crazy like final thought like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know, I could have said better myself, Jerry.
I don't have anything. I wish
I know that was a little mean of me. I was like, I have something prepared. You have a really deep, insightful thing you want to say right now before I yell at you some more?
God, I mean, yeah. Right, next time I'll prepare something for my final thought.
Yeah, this is just part one. We'll definitely have you back. We're just getting this thing going. So thank you so much for being a part of it and talking with us today. Your work is beautiful. You're an amazing human being. You're so kind and so nice. I'm so happy to be your friend. You can check out her work at clownfruits.com, Instagram at clown.fruits, Amber Giusti with a G but sounds like a J.com. And yeah, I will give you a heads up when I'm heading down there and we can link up.
Rad.
Amber, it was really nice meeting you. I love the work.
So nice to meet you. Thank you guys so much. This is really cool. I'm really psyched that you guys are doing this. I think it's a great idea, and I don't know. I love it. That's actually, I've been thinking so much recently about other artists' process and, you know, what goes through their minds. And I don't know. I just think this is a rad thing.
Yeah, it's talking with friends and fellow artists to kind of get rid of some of the stigma of asking questions about things you don't know. I feel like so many times we're kind of stuck because we don't know the answer to something and we don't really have the resources, or people that have the resources don't want to share them because they kind of hold that knowledge for a little bit of power, right? So let's give the power to the masses and let everyone know how to make shit.
Feed the people information.
I love it.
All right. Awesome. Amber, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Very cool, man.
Very
that
good.
was awesome.